It is time for Tower of God Unpopular Opinions Part 2. If you haven't seen the first video we made on this topic, you can check that out by clicking the card here and then come back and watch this video. I made another post and you guys have over 600 replies with unpopular opinions. I'm so excited to check it out. Last time it was interesting because you had a lot of unpopular opinions, but some of these opinions were sort of, I would say that most of the fandom agreed with that opinion. So today I'm looking forward to seeing more sort of on the edge unpopular opinions, like things that actually might get people mad. That's my goal today. All right, first up here by John Lanford, the most wasted potential character in Tower of God is Laro. So Laro is definitely a character that has some debate in the community. People don't know what to do with him, right? Some people think he's had enough screen time because he's not a main character, but most people actually do agree with this person, with John, that Laro is a character that SIU set up as one of these side characters like Hots and even a Knock and those characters, right? Shibisu even, and we never really got to see him do much after season 1. It's sad, but I do have faith that SIU will continue to utilize Laro. He's done a couple things here and there, and even though he is comical relief, he's a very strong character, and he's a character that has been super cool, you know, and he has a lot of favorites, so I really do hope SIU can bring him back, but I definitely agree that over the seasons, over the years, he's been wasted potential. You know what I mean? It's a similar category as a Knock, right? Where I feel like Hots and Shibisu and Dorsey, they've had their moments of stardom and they've had their moments of greatness, but a Knock and Laro have sort of just slipped through the shutters almost, and they've been forgotten, right? And I want to see them come back. I want to see them do great things, so I definitely agree with that one. Okay, we got some pretty big Season 2 spoilers here. I feel annoyed of the way SIU didn't give Prince and Arcraptor a good and respectful ending. Goodbye. I can't stop liking Whitt even though he killed Prince because they didn't give Prince importance. Okay, so this question is kind of double-sided, that SIU didn't give them a proper ending, and that they didn't give Prince importance. So I feel like Prince and Arcraptor served their purposes. I feel like Prince was a character that didn't need to be more important than he already was, so I'm not sure I agree with that one. He was important enough that his end was heartbreaking, right? It was like really sad, it was sudden when no one really expected it because Arcraptor had just died and it was crazy. But I do agree to some extent that their ending didn't get as much attention as it should have. So I think that Wangnan and Miseng's suffering was great, but they sort of just forgot about telling Bomb, like Bomb never found out. And it's something that it's been years since it has happened in the comic, and it doesn't really make sense. You know, I remember one time, I think it was Borosachi and maybe Hockney were talking about possibly telling Bomb, but they were saying, no, let's wait, you know, he's not ready to hear it. But I feel like it's still gonna happen, you know, especially since we just saw Arcraptor's daughter, or assumedly Arcraptor's daughter with the earring. I feel like what's gonna happen is maybe Wangnan or Horyang or someone from that group is going to meet up again with Bomb, and they're going to mention it, and Bomb's gonna be like, what do you mean, right? And I feel like then it'll be brought back up, and we'll get that nice ending to their characters, but you know, that was a few years ago that this happened, and the fact that it hasn't really been brought up is kind of sad. So I kind of agree with you there. Avery Wallace says there are too many high rankers in the story so far. The main cast isn't even halfway up the tower yet, and they've run into a lot of them. A large part of the old 4th Squadron and the 5th Squadron have them. There were a lot in Yama's gang. It seems like aside from Mule Love and the regulars, high rankers is who makes up the FUG Assault on the Nest. For them making up 1% of rankers, there sure are a lot of them. So, I agree that we've been seeing, like, it's almost like when you see a ranker nowadays, you assume they're a high ranker. And I feel like that's kind of not great. I feel like we should see more regular rankers. I do completely see what you're saying. We're kind of escalating, right? We're not even halfway up the tower, and we're seeing all these high rankers duking it out. And it does seem like we know more high rankers than rankers. But at the same time, 1% of rankers is still a lot, right? Because I think there's still a lot of rankers in the tower, not near, you know, there's still a niche group. I mean, only a small percentage of regulars become rankers, but 1% of all the rankers in the tower is still a decent few. It's still probably a few thousand, right? So I feel like, or at least 1,000. So seeing them in the story is fine, and even seeing a lot of them is fine, but I think the problem, which you addressed, is that we don't meet enough regular rankers to sort of counteract it. We're only meeting high rankers now instead of rankers and then maybe a high ranker here or there. And I do agree that it's sort of getting rid of the importance. High ranker isn't as cool as it used to be, right? It's sort of become the norm, and I agree, that's not great. I feel like we should meet more rankers to sort of even that out. I like that point, that's good. Zaid says, it's annoying when Tower of God turns into Tower of Hostages, which happens a lot. Yeah, it does. It's pretty much everywhere in all of the arcs, or most of the arcs, right? I mean, just off the top of my head, you've got Inieta taking Rak and Eywa and Danwa prisoner. You've got Eywa being taken prisoner again with Danwa, with Yule and all that stuff with Kel, right? And then obviously Jin Sung, that's just off the top of my head. And of course, during the Hell Train, there's the whole game with the hostages. Yeah, you know, now that I think about it, this is basically, Tower of God is either Tower of Betrayal or Tower of Hostages. The hostages thing doesn't really bother me too much, but I do get what you're saying, that it does sort of become a little repetitive. At the same time, I do feel like it's kind of realistic, you know, it's a good way, especially when it comes to Bomb, who's somebody who cares about his friends so deeply, and so his enemies know that's how to get to him. Now, obviously, all the hostage taking doesn't have to do directly with Bomb, but it's an interesting point to make. Like, taking hostages does work, so I don't mind seeing it in the story regularly. But as long as it isn't like every single arc, you know, and as far as I know, it's not every single arc, but it is funny that it does happen a lot. I never really thought about that. The Blue Aim says, I want Rachel to come back soon. So much mystery behind what she wished for and what she knows of Arlen. So, okay, this is an unpopular opinion, I'm sure, because I feel like people are okay with Rachel being gone, but I totally agree with you. I definitely am so excited to see Rachel again. It's sort of like, I forget which part of season 2 it was, but there was a period where we didn't get to see Rachel for a decent amount of time, and when we saw her again, it was kind of hype. Like, we weren't excited to see Rachel do stuff, but we were excited to see what would happen with Rachel, right? And so I'm excited, you know, I want to see what she wished for. I want to make a video actually about her 3 wishes. I think it's 3. And people are saying, okay, is she gonna wish for beauty? Is she gonna wish for power? Like, what's going on? What can the wishes even do? I'm so curious, you know, and there's definitely so much intrigue happening with Rachel, you know, like, why was she taking care of Bomb? Where did she come from? What's going on? And we're gonna get those answers at some point. And although I love the nest, I love this whole war thing, I do definitely miss, like, everything else that was happening, so I definitely want to go back to that soon. Voidair 34 says, SIU needs to stop introducing new side characters and focus on the ones we already have. Not that the characters are bad, it's just that there's too many. Okay, that's unpopular, I would say. I mean, not that I'm judging every comment here, but I do think that not everybody agrees with that. I have heard people bring up this point. I'm in the middle with this one. If I had to pick a side, I think it's fine that SIU introduces side characters, a lot of them. I do agree that it can become a little overwhelming at times, and I think it becomes a problem when there's so many side characters that they cannot share screen time. Like, if that starts to happen, that's when it becomes a problem. And so I feel like that has happened, definitely. We talked about Laro, Anak, even other characters like from Team Sweet and Sour. We haven't seen them in a long time. Like, there are characters that don't show up for a long time and then return and then don't show up for a long time. Like Ron's team, you know, and Dan and Nobik and all them. Like, it's true. And I feel like SIU needs to start working on ways to implement all of them. So it's not really that there's too many side characters, it's just that they're poorly utilized, I feel like. You know, they show up for a period, then they leave, and they show up again, they leave, and people don't remember who they are because it's been so long. So I love that there's so many, but I don't love that we have to sacrifice screen time with certain characters. So as long as SIU can balance it, then it's great. So we'll see. Baggins.mp4 says, there's something about Shia that makes it so I just can't hate her. I have a feeling maybe it's the rabbit ears. I don't know, it makes her seem more innocent. I like Shia a lot, you know, when she's first introduced, she's sort of this psycho character who just wants to blow things up, and she calls Bomb her god, and it's like, you know, calm down a little bit. But overall, she's actually pretty interesting. Like, she ends up actually helping Bomb and helping his friends and his team and sort of becoming reliable, you know, and not somebody that you can't trust. And I think that's pretty cool. You know, it shows that she wasn't evil. She was just a little crazy. And when she started toning down that craziness, she started actually becoming, you know, a useful member of the team. But again, I feel like she suffers from the side character syndrome or whatever. Her, Ron, Nobik, and Dan, like, and even Beta now, they come and go. But like, even sometimes they just go, and you don't see them for forever. You know, the last time we saw them was the Name Hunt Station. That's too long, man, you know? And we like these characters so much that we want to see them again. And yeah, so I love Shia too, and I love all those characters. I just wish we saw them again because they're honestly pretty cool. I want to see them grow even more. Chan Ho says, for revolutionaries, Doan and Cha were pretty idle in the current war. Yeah, you know, I agree. They weren't really doing that much in this last battle. I want to see them in the action a little bit more. I feel like for Doan, you can sort of say that perhaps she didn't want to fight. You know, she was just siding with Kaloyan kind of because she not had to, but she wants to end things, but maybe she doesn't really want to fight herself too much. But with Cha, I kind of agree. He was kind of just sitting by. He blocked a couple things and helped them out a couple of times, but I want to see them like do something badass, you know, how Paul and Doom took out Dekoko. I want to see them like actually fight somebody, take them out. I think that'd be really cool. I have a feeling we'll see that in the next arc. Salvo Elia says, I know that SIU will show them in the future, but I really want to see what happened to the Sweet and Sour team. They were important for the start/middle of season 2, but then they became less and less relevant to the overall story. Who knows? Maybe they will appear in the war to help Bomb or to die like Prince and Arcraptor. So I feel like a lot of these comments from you guys are talking about the irrelevance of side characters, and the fact that we haven't seen them for a long time basically means that they're useless to the story and they don't play any role. And I agree, like Sweet and Sour, it's some of my favorite parts of Tower of God. They're my favorite team. Like, they were just ordinary people who came together as a family, you know, and I love those characters. And the fact that they've sort of just been forgotten is very sad. I know they will be brought back, like you said. I'm sure they will, in some way. Season 3 even opened up, right, with Wangnan going back to Horyang, and he's awakened now, which is super cool. But I don't want them to just like show up. I want them to be like actually important to the plot again. Especially Wangnan, who is basically like the secondary main character of season 2, you know? We haven't seen him a single time since the beginning of season 3. I want to see what's going on with them. I want them to go important again. And this goes for all side characters. Like, I want side characters to exist for a reason. And even main characters too, like Rack. I want them to exist for a reason. I want them to feel like they are contributing to the story, to the plot, you know, and everything that's happening. And I feel like that's the main weakness of Tower of God right now. I feel like if that's rectified, this show is perfect. You know, like, I love the action, I love the art. It's really just the side characters and just the character inclusion as a whole. If that was fixed, we'd be in good shape. M. Gamari says, I think it kinda sucks that no important character of the main cast has died so far, and we're already pretty deep into the series. Don't get me wrong, I don't want anyone to die, but it should happen to induce character development. I agree. You know, I feel like Tower of God, for being this tower where everyone is, you know, risking their lives and climbing and there's all these dangers, not many people have died, like certainly a few, and the ones that have are pretty gut-wrenching. But considering we have like 300 characters, you know, if 5 of them die, that's not that crazy. And I agree. I feel like if someone important died, someone, like if they handled it properly, you know, like even I feel like Jin Sung could have died in the end of season 2, The Last Station, and it would have meant a lot. I don't mind that they kept him alive, but if they handle deaths properly, you know, they have this gigantic setup, it's for a purpose, it drives a character like it did with Bomb, like that's a good death, you know, and I feel like if we have a couple more of those coming up, that would be great. And I'm hoping that the war does that. Like, I don't want anyone to die, but I feel like you said, it is kind of necessary, and I feel like if we had a couple more deaths, it would add a lot to the story and a lot to the character development of the main cast. Yep, I'm seeing more people talk about Ron and Nobik and all this stuff, because I want them so bad too. They're amazing. I want them to come back. Dunn says, SIU needs to stop making the enemies become allies. For example, Whitt, Karaka, now Kaloyan. Now, every time I see a good potential villain, it just makes me wonder if they'll join the squad. Yeah, I feel like Kalavans. It's hard though, because I feel like they all sort of make sense, you know? And the thing with Kaloyan is I have faith that he'll still remain an antagonist. And he even tells Bomb that, you know, we're forever enemies. And I kind of believe him. Like, I feel like once this whole war thing is settled, Kaloyan and Bomb are going to have another showdown where Bomb possibly kills him or something happens, right? I want that to happen so bad. I feel like it would be a gigantic mistake if Kaloyan actually, like, permanently becomes a decent guy. He is a decent guy, but like joins Bomb's team. That would be not, I wouldn't like that, right? I feel like temporarily allying is fine because their goals are the same right now, but I get what you're saying, you know, that all these villains, all these antagonists are just becoming good guys, right? And that's not great. I feel like with Karaka it's fine, with Whitt it's okay, and I love those characters and I like where they're going. But if it keeps happening, yeah, I could see it being kind of an issue. All right, last one here. Alyssa Lim says, Hell Train felt dragged out and boring at times. A lot of the twisty plot, intelligent scheming, and emotional stakes that made Season 1 and the beginning of Season 2 so interesting were sadly cut from the Hell Train to make room for more meaningless action scenes. Okay, we're ending with a strong one. The Hell Train, in my opinion, is the best arc of Tower of God. I feel like it's when Tower of God is at its finest. Now, I don't disagree. I feel like they did sort of sacrifice some of the scheming, some of the sneaky, tricky things that were happening earlier for action, but it still had a good balance. There was still intrigue happening. There was still great character development. Great new characters, right? And character relationships. The plot was still very interesting. The tests were still like tests, and they had these games happening. And there were still like interesting things happening in the plot. And the action was really good. Like really good, really interesting. And there wasn't like too much of it in my opinion. So I get what you're saying. I address it, but I feel like you could almost say everything you said now or then in that comment to what's happening now in Season 3. Season 3 right now is pretty much all action, which is, it's nice. I like it a lot. It's super cool. I love the war, but, you know, Kun isn't really scheming anymore. There's not that much intrigue happening in the plot. I still think it's good, but I almost feel like that comment applies more to Season 3, and although I get what you're saying when it applies to the Hell Train, the Hell Train is just a balance, right? I feel like Season 1, you know, there was not much action, a lot of intrigue, a lot of mystery. And in Season 2, that gap started to close a little bit, and the Hell Train, in my opinion, is when it all perfectly balanced, you know? Action, character development, plot intricacy, all this stuff happening, new characters, character backstory being revealed, and the art style just got so good at that time as well. There's something about the Hell Train that is so special, and while I don't disagree, I do feel like it is like Tower of God at its prime. I feel like Hell Train Tower of God it's perfection. I love the Hell Train. But anyway, guys, that is all for this Unpopular Opinions Tower of God video. I'm sure I'll make more of these if you guys want to see it, so let me know in the comments what your unpopular opinions are, and like the video if you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on these unpopular opinions. If you didn't know, we actually have our own dub of the original webcomic of Tower of God here on the channel. We just finished Season 1, we're going to be starting Season 2 very soon, and if you want to support that, you can head over to my Patreon. It supports the channel, and if we hit our next goal, which we're actually really close to hitting, then we're actually going to release 2 chapters at least in every episode of our dub, which is super exciting. So every dollar helps, guys. Every little donation gets us closer to that goal, and if we hit that goal, we're going to be making excellent progress towards completing Season 2 of the dub. So I'm super excited. Check out our Patreon if you want to support us, and thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next Tower of God video.